So, Brahman is sending out this Maya that generates the world in all of its details in Brahman's manifest form. And three of the major things that Brahman sends out are the so-called qualities of nature. And you'll remember having come across all kinds of descriptions in the Gita of the qualities of nature. The qualities of nature, as my students are probably sick of hearing, in Sanskrit is, the word is guna, gunas. And that literally means qualities, the qualities of nature. And there are three different major gunas. Again, these are emanations from Brahman's Maya. And these gunas, these three major qualities of nature, can also be understood as psychological tendencies that make up important parts of who you are as a human being. Hinduism sees you as having quite a number of different aspects as a human being, and I am not going to bore you by belaboring all of the details, but two of the major details are your actual physical body and then your psychological self. And you're used to the Western tradition making something like that same kind of distinction. We've got a physical body, and then we've got an immortal soul. The Gita does not break it down that way, because it says we've got the physical body, we've got the psychological self, and then, of course, underneath it all, there is the Atman. That's the closest we're ever going to come in Hinduism to an immortal soul. And obviously, there are real differences there, because in Christianity, the immortal soul is a creation of God, whose job, as Augustine describes it in the Confessions, is to come to greater knowledge of God, greater devotional communion with God, and will thereby be able to return to God to live with God throughout eternity. For Hinduism, Atman is God. And it's eternal, all right, but that's not because there is some separate piece of you, psychologically, that's eternal. It's because fundamentally, your psychological experiences aren't really who you are. Fundamentally, it's Brahman, who you really are. So, there are these three different gunas, these three different psychological components, these three different psychological realities and qualities of nature, and they construct who you experience yourself as being, intellectually, emotionally, aesthetically, how you're motivated to do things in the world. The three different gunas are, and there is a hierarchy here, so I'm starting at the top and working down. First of all, sattva, S-A-T-T-V-A, or as Barbara Stoller-Miller translates it regularly, lucidity. And lucidity is the guna, the psychological orientation, that predisposes a person to an interest in knowing things. It predisposes a person to purity. So lucidity is a word that means clarity, light, understanding, and that is why the Sanskrit word sattva, which literally means truth, has been translated this way. So somebody who has the knowledge, lucidity guna predominating is going to find it pretty easy to care about knowing more about the world in general, and perhaps even knowing more about Brahman, ultimately. And that's why this guna is at the top of the hierarchy. It is, so to speak, the best guna for coming to achieve moksha, which, as you know, means the Hindu version of salvation, and ultimately that is release from all of these irritating, reincarnated lives you keep being stuck into. Release into oneness with Brahman. So sattva helps you to achieve that. The second guna, and now we're moving down the list, is rajas. And rajas is the guna that is associated with passion. Sorry? Spell it. Oh, R-A-J-A-S. Rajas. And that is the guna that is associated with passion or with desire. If you're a passionate person, if you desire things, what's the likely outcome of your having that psychological orientation? You're going to do stuff. You're going to act in the world to try to achieve what it is that you desire. You desire $1 million. What are you going to do? You're going to major in business. You're going to go out and found your first company by the time you're 25, and you're going to try to rake in the cash. You're going to be acting in a way that is oriented toward achieving your desire. Now, there are some possible benefits, according to the Gita, for having the passion, guna, predominating. Also some possible deficits. Possible benefit. You are likely to act in a way that brings you closer to the desire of achieving moksha, the desire of moving up the caste system, the desire of coming to know Brahman and be reunited with Brahman by recognizing that you are Atman deep down underneath. Possible deficit, and it's a biggie. Desire prevents you from achieving moksha. Desire prevents you from achieving oneness with Brahman. Why does it do this? Well, one of the other major terms besides samsara, the reincarnative cycle, coming back into multiple lives, and moksha, being released from samsara into oneness with Brahman, a oneness that you actually structurally had all along because you're Atman deep down underneath, but you didn't realize it, so it prevents that complete oneness from happening. One of the other terms that you're probably familiar with by now is karma. And karma is what you build up by doing either morally good or morally bad actions in the world. Morally good or morally bad with reference to, yes, yet another term, dharma. Dharma being your duty. So, and that's D-H-A-R-M-A. If you're fulfilling your duty, according to the Hindu worldview, and we'll come back and talk about what that actually entails, if you're fulfilling your duty, then you're building up good karma. If you are avoiding doing your duty, or doing your duty badly, but still it's much worse to avoid doing your duty, you're building up bad karma. So good karma, bad karma. What kind of functioning does karma have? We might have a tendency to think of it as something that maybe a personal God or divine committee doles out to us, keeping a list like Santa Claus of all the good and bad things we've done in our lives, and then when we die saying, you've got a negative 5,000 bad karma score, and so we have decided to assign you a hell position in the afterlife. For us, when we think about how morality works, we tend, in our Santa Claus imagination, to understand it as something that some divine being has to evaluate and then process us accordingly as a result. That is not the way Hinduism sees it. For Hinduism, karma is almost a scientific law of cause and effect. Things happen to you as a direct, immediate, and I don't mean immediate in the sense of boom, it happens in the next sentence. I mean there's no mediator. Nobody makes it happen. It happens of itself. There is a direct and immediate effect for every cause that you, by your actions, put into the universe. So if you act in a morally good way, you build up morally good karma, and the result of that is various things that we'll come back to later on. If you act in a morally bad way, you build up bad karma, and the result of that is poop. So it's just like if you have some litmus paper, you stick it in an acid solution, you don't have to say, I'm going to make that turn, and now I have no clue because I'm not a chemist, either pink or blue. You don't make it turn a certain color. It does that automatically on its own. Karma works the same way. Okay, so back to the Rajas guna. What has this got to do with it? If you are a passionate person, a desiring person, you're doing a lot of actions. And you're doing actions trying to achieve a certain kind of result. That means you are building up lots of karma. Good karma maybe, bad karma maybe, but you're building up karma. Obviously, it's better to have good karma than to have bad karma, but ultimately, according to the Gita, the very best thing is to have no karma at all.